Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders prediction show. This is the only prediction show on the internet that counts, in our opinion. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl. We had another consistently great weekend of Super League last week, and we're back for another round, Craig. Round 12 now. Yeah, round 12, some great results. And I've got to say right now, top of the show, Karl, you got 6 from 6 last week. Oh, I thought you weren't going to mention it. I was waiting to get that in. So, yeah, 6 from 6 last week.
Yeah, I got 4 from 6.
Normal service has been resumed, mate.
Well, come on. That's not happened for a long time.
I have had a bit of a bad season this year.
Yeah.
Last year, I've smashed you.
Right, let's kick on then with our rapid fire recap as we always do. And Thursday night kicked off this weekend with Saints versus Catalan Dragons.
If this game had been a boxing match, they would have probably thrown the towel in at half-time. Catalan, they got absolutely battered. Saints came out of the block firing. George Whitby, absolute masterclass again. Love watching that guy play. And Dion Cross scored on his debut.
On to the Friday night and Leeds took on Hull FC. Okay, moving on to the Friday night, Leeds Rhinos took on Hull FC.
Leeds 18, Hull FC 16. A game that Hull FC led throughout the whole game. And who popped up at the magic moment? Ryan Hall. Classic Ryan Hall finish. Saved the day for Leeds.
Certainly did. It was a great game. Also that night we had Wigan taking on Lee in the Battle of the Borough at Mark 2.
Yeah, Wigan 36, Lee 28. This game didn't finish 1-0. There were 64 points scored in total in this game. And it was a match that had absolutely everything. Looked like it could have been a blowout early doors. Lee fought their way back into the game, squeaky bum time a little bit for Wigan, and then they finished. They got the job done in the end. Again, some Bevan French brilliance and a little bit of referee controversy with the old Jake Wardle held up over the line. Try, no try. Anyway, it was a great game.
Then we had top of the table Hull KR taking on 11th in the table Giants.
Joe Burgess with a double, 34 points. I mean, everyone expected Hull KR to win this one, and they did comfortably, but disappointing if you're a Giants fan. They didn't even get on the board.
Perhaps the shock result of the round, Wakey took on Warrington.
Kaius Fartili, the man of Super League at the minute, Craig. I said to you, Wakey, I could fancy them to win this game. They didn't just win, they blew Warrington off the park. Worrying times if you're a Wire fan. They're in 9th in the table. They are at Wembley, but they need some consistency if they're going to get a job done at Wembley.
And the final game of the round then, Castleford took on Salford.
Castleford 48, Salford 16. Tex Hoy hat-trick, Salford not at the races. The squad's decimated. Don't have anything else to say on that, really.
Right, let's move on to this week then. Like I said, round 12 and some really, really interesting fixtures this week as well, and lots of injuries from the weekend. So how that's going to play out, we're not really going to know, but we're going to dive into it right now. The first game then, Thursday night, 22nd of May, we've got 3rd place Lee taking on 7th place Hull FC. Lee currently 4 from 6 and Hull FC just 1 win from the last 6. So definite downturn in their momentum at the minute. This is 8 o'clock on Sky Sports Plus.
Well, you watched Hull FC v Leeds, didn't you? And I watched Wigan v Lee, so we should have a little bit, we can go do a bit of backwards and forwards on this one. I thought Lee were very good against Wigan. They had moments that they took their eye off the ball, and there was some Wigan brilliance that Wigan just shredded them straight up the middle, and some long-range efforts. But Lee, they ground their way back into it. They came out in the second half and they just hit the ground running. And like Wigan often do, sometimes when Wigan get in the lead early on, they take the foot off the gas a little bit. I think they're guilty of that a little bit. Lee took full advantage of it, came out in the second half and really troubled Wigan. I thought they played really well.
Yeah, well, for me, the way that Leeds beat Hull FC was robust defence and then some individual bits of skill. And then at times, there was just really good flowing rugby. Now, Lee can do all of that in abundance. Yeah. They've got a really robust defence. They've got the likes of, Lachlan Lamb that can just pop up anywhere on the pitch. He's leading the try-assist league at the minute, at the table at the minute. So I think this is going to be a tough day for Hull. It's a really interesting game because, like I said, the Hull's momentum's changed slightly. And that's evident from their just one loss in the last 6 games. Albeit they've had some tough games, but I think Lee, there's a reason why they're sitting third at the minute. Personally, I think Lee are going to be a little bit too strong for Hull FC, albeit Hull FC are just a different. They're so far. We keep saying it, but they're so far from where they were last year. They've got Strike.
They are dropping down that table though now, aren't they? They're dropping right down now.
Well, this is the part of the season where that's going to start. That's going to start happening, isn't it? Some, like we said last week, we talked about this split emerging in the table as it did last year, where you've got those that are going to be competing for the playoffs and those that are just at the bottom of the table and can't really make much progress. It's shocking to see Warrington down there in a minute, but
we'll get on to that in a minute. How did Will Price play? I watched the highlights and Will Price looked like he was an absolute handful in that game.
Yeah, it wasn't helpful. I mean, his speed and agility is his thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And reliable. Reliable at the back. You mentioned Will Price, but obviously Will Price's introduction into the team meant that Jordan Rapanaar can move into his favoured position in the centres for that team. Big injury for him this week, though.
Yeah.
So he got some kind of head knock there, and although we saw him walking about after the game, I don't know what effects that's going to have, so whether he's going to feature. And he is huge for Hull. He really is huge for Hull FC. But Will Price, he's starting to settle down in that team, and I think this week, if he can just, if he can carry that form on, then they have got a chance. But I think this is going to be a Lee win for me.
I think Tessinu punching holes in the Hull FC defence is going to cause them some problems. And Owen Trout again played really well against Wigan, an absolute handful at the minute. He's just getting better and better. For that reason, I'm going Lee. I think Lee will probably get the job done this week.
Right, so we both agree on that first game. Then, like I said, 8 o'clock on Sky Sports Plus. Moving on to the Friday, then we've got Huddersfield currently sitting 11th place in the table, taking on Saints, who's 5th. They've had a little bit of an upturn in their form with the win at the weekend. They're currently 2 from the last 6, and you could argue that Paul Wellens' job is a little bit more secure than it was this time last week. Flip to the other side of the game, then Huddersfield, albeit they're at home, they're just 1 from 6 in the last 6 games there, and no signs really of vast improvement. So,
well, they didn't score a point, did they, at the weekends, and that's pretty terrible. And they did have plenty of ball, actually. From what I've seen of the game, they did have plenty of ball. They just didn't. They ain't got any strike power at Huddersfield at the minute. Saints, on the other hand, I thought they played really well against Catalan.
Yeah, they did.
It was a performance I wasn't quite expecting. I thought they'd give them a game. They blew them away, didn't they? I mean, first, I think that's what it was with St Helens. They had a really quick 5-10 minute start where they got themselves on the board early on. They were able to relax a little bit, and then we started to see that free-flowing rugby that we come to expect from St Helens. I know we've mentioned him a few times, George Whitby. He's growing in confidence every week, and I just love watching him play. He's got a little, I wouldn't say arrogance about him. He's got a confidence about him. He's quite happy just to take the line on. His distribution's very good, and the Saints are going to build around him. I think he's a great player.
Yeah, he is, and that was backed up by his comments after the game as well. Because he was player of the match, and spoke really, really well. Those days of like duh rugby, that kind of interview. Obviously gone.
Like they do on the football. At the end of the day, I played well. At the end of the day,
let my feet do the talking. But he spoke really, really well. So obviously a great kid and highly, highly regarded in the club, not just by his coaching staff, but also, the players around him, to allow him that freedom of expression, if you like, and he's just performing. That's easy to do when you're scoring hat-tricks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it was good to see Saints bring another young lad through, Dion Cross as well. It was his debut. He scored on his debut. Surely, if you're on your debut and you score trying Super League, that's going to be absolutely magical, isn't it? So the young lads are played well for Saints at the weekend, but some of the old heads stepped up in this week's game. Alex Walmsley, I thought, was great. He just really took Saints forward. And like I say, sort of 5-10 minutes into the game, Catalan were already, they were worrying, weren't they? And yeah, free-flowing rugby after that. Saints just, they look great.
Alex Walmsley, he's had a bit of a weird period in my eye, but he made a few sort of silly mistakes, dropped balls in the last few games. And I wonder if they knew Catalan were coming and they were going to have some strong forwards, and therefore Alex Walmsley needed to front up and be a leader, and he's done that this week, and like you said, outstanding performance from him.
Yeah, so on the Luke Robinson's side, I ain't got too much to say about him. I hope that Huddersfield strengthen for their sakes. I think it's going to be a long second half of the season for Huddersfield if they don't change something up pretty soon. Yeah,
okay, so for that reason, I'm going to Saints win. What say you, Carlos?
I'm going to Saints win. I have a feeling we're going to tie up. Yeah, we're going to be 6 from 6 on this week. Right. I think we're both going to go for the same fixtures.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Right, so moving on then. This is your first game on Sky TV proper. We've all been sold this line, haven't we, that every game's live, and yeah, it is, but this Sky Plus is just...
Mate,
anyway, that's my weekly rant.
Come on, like, you got to get through 1 week without mentioning that.
I can't. It's pissed me off. I've got another couple of things to talk about later on as well, which wound me up. Right, okay, we've got Warrington. Right, the Wars of Warrington really, really struggling right now. Up against top of the table, Hull KR. Warrington, like you said, sitting 9th, 2 from the last 6, and then Hull KR, 5 from the last 6, sitting top of the table. Can anybody knock them off right now?
No, not this week. Not Warrington. I can't see it. Warrington just where are these performances coming from, and why can't they get any consistency? I know they've got injuries, right? But this week's performance from last week's performance, the poles apart, aren't they?
Yeah.
Why? How do we explain that?
I can't explain whether it's a lack of concentration, because they were just silly errors, wasn't it? Silly errors like just cost them the game, albeit they had experience. A lot of the same experienced players from the week before, where they pulled out an amazing win. So yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I really don't know what's happening.
I don't know what else to say about them. It's like I wish I had some. Yeah, I mean, obviously they've got a lot of injuries. But they had injuries last week, and last week they performed really well, and this week they were terrible. I wish I could go in depth and sort of give a reason why why are so inconsistent, and I don't think the fans know really, do they? I saw quite a few comments though getting on some players' backs this weekend, which is I thought a little bit strange. Dufty were getting a load of stick.
Yeah,
well, I think Dufty's been great this year. Well, defensively he's been a bit strange, but certainly in attack he's been awesome this year.
But I think a lot of people rely on him, don't they? As being a bit of a game changer, and when he doesn't he can change a game within a second, but he can also cost you points.
Do you think it's
for silly mistakes? So
do you think it's the Warrington pack that are not laying the foundations for the backs?
Well, all I know is like Paul Vaughan last week had a belter and they won. They created a platform and they went on and won. If the forwards are missing this week, is that
they got bullied by the Wakefield pack? Like they got rolled up the field all game pretty much. I was wondering if that's their core problem. I mean, I know they've changed the halfbacks a number of times this year, but like we saw last week, Snead can do a job pretty much on his own if he needs to. Didn't happen though, did it? It just didn't happen this week.
Do you think they were fatigued from the Challenge Cup game the week before? I mean, they put everything into that, didn't they?
Yeah, there is a possibility there, isn't there? I mean, they are low on troops. They did put everything into that Challenge Cup performance. So yeah, I think, but it'd be interesting this week. It'd be interesting if they perform and compete with Hull KR throughout the whole game, or we see a couple of Hull KR tries and it just ends up being a blowout. I think it has potential to be another blowout, this one.
No, you're right, it has. And if they do compete, if they're competitive and it's a narrow win for Hull KR or Warrington even go on and win, that'll be even more bewildering, won't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be even more confusing than the way we're sat now.
I think this is the period now where Sam Burgess is probably learning the most about his coaching style, because he's had it quite good, hasn't he, really? Since Burgess came in, they had an upturned wire. They were pretty consistent last year. They were always sort of up there, competing in that top 6, and now they find themselves in 9th. Some difficult games coming up, and you just don't know if, at this moment in time, you don't actually know if Wire are going to make the 6 this year.
No, I know. They're on that 10 points in the table.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about it last week, where the teams that start to make the separation now are going to be in the shout with the playoffs. Everyone else is going to get left behind. You know, and Warrington are dangerously, I mean, you know, from what I said last week, it's too late. It's too late. You know, it's like, I don't know where they'll find the points from, you know, to get back into the playoffs and really challenge. But it's going to be interesting, like you say.
Losing Matty Ashton's a big blow for him as well. I mean, I know the wingers,
and Danny Walker.
Yeah, the wingers make that much difference. I suppose somebody like Matty Ashton does. He's a bit of a game changer for you when you need him. Hull KR. If we're going to Hull KR, how good of a season is Joe Burgess having this year?
He's having a belter, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you keep the microphone away from him. But yeah, 2 tries again at the weekend. Like I just keep saying it. I've been saying it every week. KR are like the entertainers of Super League this year. You wouldn't want to play them. I'm looking forward to when they take on Wigan again later on this year. That's going to be a belter.
Right, we've got to call it then, Carl. Are we both going Hull KR?
Yeah,
Keep it easy.
Robin's win for me, mate, definitely.
Right, okay. So moving on to the Saturday, then we've got we've got 2 games. We've got local derby, Castleford taking on Leeds Rhinos at Castleford. Castleford currently sitting 10th in the table. Leeds sitting 4th. 2 from 6 and Leeds 4 from last 6. So that's kind of tale of what's going on there. This kicks off at 2:30, so 14:30. Don't get caught out by that slightly earlier start time. What are you saying?
Cass, good to see them get a win actually this weekend. I know it was against Salford, but they did put 48 points on the board, and I think that's going to give Danny Maguire's side some confidence. Zach Sini played really well in the centres, and Dejan Arce in the halves. He's been a bit sort of hot and cold all season, but he had a good game this weekend. I know they were playing Salford, and Salford are really depleted on men, aren't they, in the minute? But yeah, I think Leeds are going to be too strong for him. But I think it's nice to see a bit of confidence getting into that Tigers side. Danny Maguire was upbeat after the game. It's a local derby, so you add that in there as well. It could be an interesting game.
But the thing that gets me about this game, and there's been a bit of a shift in Super League, in my opinion, is that almost the zero, like holding a team to 0 is almost more important than scoring yourself. And I think Danny Maguire will be disappointed in the 16 points that Salford posted against Castleford.
Right,
you know, and I think that's an indication of leaky defence. I think to go on and score 40 odd points against Salford as they are right now, is where you need to be if you're going to compete in the Super League. But I think the points against are really key. So they were
24-0 up at half time as well. So those points came in the second half when they were already in a comfortable position. So again, we spoke about concentration earlier on in the show. Is there a bit of lack of concentration there again? Possibly, yeah.
Nenny McDonald was back and had a great game. So anyway, let's call it. I think. Well, no, we haven't spoke about Leeds.
No, it's gone to Leeds. So I didn't watch the Leeds game. I've only seen the highlights. You watched the full Leeds fixture. From what I've seen in Leeds, you know what I say about Leeds this year? They're so quick in the back line. The wingers, centres, they move that ball across that line so quick, and it creates problems for teams. That's how Ryan Hall ended up scoring that final try. That if the ball had gone a little bit slower, he wouldn't have got in at that corner at the end. But yeah, really quick attacking play from Leeds. Yeah, and the flip side of that as well in D, they were really, really robust in defence as well. There was times when Jared O'Connor was more or less ending up in the stand because he was sprinting that hard to batter players much bigger than him at times as well. So yes, really, really, really spirited defence. Callum Watkins cementing his place there at 13. It's going to be interesting because Cam Smith is back. He played 50 minutes at the weekend. So where Callum Watkins goes, I don't know. I think Brad Arthur's probably
praying for some kind of injury in the back line or something.
What are you saying? Who are you picking? I reckon you'll go Callum Watkins over Cam Smith.
Yeah, I would pick Callum Watkins over Cam Smith, albeit is the club captain. You know what I mean?
Well,
but
stranger things have happened.
For me, I think Callum Watkins has come. He's hungry. I'm not saying Cam Smith isn't, but he's hungry. You know what I mean? He's got to perform back at his old stomping ground, and I think strike wise he just brings a little bit more. Cam Smith can distribute the ball, and obviously does a good job sort of organising players. But Leeds they're playing differently with the likes of Jake Connor, Lockie Miller in there, and Ash Handley's having an absolute belter. Really, really good to see. And that Ryan Hall was just Leeds Rhinos of old, and it was great to see. Do you know what I mean? It was great to see. So, really strong.
He got stood up in defence though, didn't he, against Hull? Did Ryan Hall a little bit. Yeah, he crept in and they didn't quite get the numbers right, and the speed killed him a little bit in defence, but in attack he's that battering ram that can stay on his feet and finish the job. Yeah.
What else we say about Lee? Oh, you're talking about like the defence and the rapid attack. But the word I'd use is spirited. They talk about the spirit of the Rhino, don't they, at Leeds, and it is a spirited it's a spirited effort from them guys. So and I think a lot of that is brought on by the Brad Arthur pre-season training. They're renowned for being tough and for being fit. So I think you can't put in that defence and that attack without being fit.
Cementing themselves as a top four side now, Leeds?
I hope so. I do hope so. They do. Yeah, I mean, you look at the team and you sort of think, I don't know where. There are some obvious stars, and there's a few people like, I don't know how they're going to perform. But as a team, as a collective, they're doing really, really well. And I don't think Brad Arthur ever thinks his job's done. He's always saying, stuff to work on, we've got to be better. Stuff to work on, we've got to be better. So, and for me, special mention to like James McDonnell, who is like...
He's having a stellar season.
He's having a stellar season. He's just a ultimate competitor, in defence and in attack. He's just a great player. I hope we can keep hold of him because he may be NRL bound, the way that he's performing, and we know that the Aussies are loving the British second rowers at the minute. So, I don't know. We'll see. For me, this is going to be a Leeds comfortable win, and I'm hoping that Leeds keep him to a nil score. For all the reasons I mentioned before.
I'm hoping Cass win, but I can't see it. I think Leeds will get the job done. And keep pushing for that top three.
Right, moving on then. The next game, Catalan Dragons take on Wigan. Catalan currently sitting 8th in the table, 3 from the last 6, and Wigan sitting second, as we know, having won all 6 of the last 6 games. This is on Sky Sports Action at 17:30. Interesting as well that Catalan are on the run, 3 losses on the bounce.
Not only that, I've had a look at their next 5 fixtures and it ain't looking good for Catalan.
Right.
They've got Wigan this week, then they've got both Hull teams, FC first, then KR the weekend after, then they play Lee and then they play Huddersfield. There's a potential they might only pick up 1 win out of them next 5, and if they do, that's Catalan's season over. I think they are really struggling,
and that might be just what Warrington need. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
this juggling in the centre of the table is really interesting. So, I don't know what's going on with Catalan. I mean, when you start the season, you got the signings like Elliot Whitehead, Luke Keary, and I know they're all aging players. But
Luke Keary needs to have a bit of a long, hard look at himself, I think. He came out firing the other week, didn't he, after Catalan had actually won a couple of games, and so he started slagging off everything. Someone picked that up, one of the American fans picked that. I said slagging off last week, so I have probably no idea what I'm on about. He came out firing, didn't he, Luke Keary, a couple of weeks ago, talking about the level of, just talking about Super League in general, wasn't he? Like the press that it receives, and just he kind of rubbished the game a little bit. But
he said he called it unwatchable.
Yeah, but do you know what? His performance was pretty unwatchable against St Helens at the weekend. Sorry, midweek, wasn't it? Yeah, his performance was pretty unwatchable. I thought he was pretty dire, to be honest with you, both in attack and in defence. I think he got put on his arse a few times in defence, and certainly their organisational play in attack was terrible. I mean, they didn't get on the board, did they? So it speaks volumes.
Yeah, and Steve McNamara is no doubt feeling the pressure, and he's not letting go of this narrative that Catalan are unwanted, like the illegitimate love child of Super League. You know what I mean? He's just not letting it go.
I love Catalan, but there's something not right this season. And like I said, we knew they lost some influential players last year, but there's some big name players aren't really performing. Kotrick again didn't really do anything, and he was fantastic in the NRL. I'm interested. I wonder what the French fans thinking at the minute, because they're pretty hardcore of the French fans.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a home advantage this week, but I cannot see them performing well against Wigan.
Yeah, when you've just shipped 40 points against Saints, you don't want Wigan coming in a week after, do you? That's a pretty quick turnaround to sort an awful lot of a mess out. Wigan were great against Lee. The only thing I'd say about Wigan, like I said earlier, they took the foot off the neck a little bit of Lee and let Lee back into that game when they kind of already had it. They should have had it tied up. It took some individual brilliance. I've got to talk about Bevan French again. The try he set up, he set up two, but one was just pure brilliance. They went down the short side. There were more defenders than there were attackers. He sort of managed to engage three players by stepping across, ball out the back door again. It was just brilliant to watch. Love watching him play.
Yeah, I completely agree. He just seems to he took 5 of the opposition out of the game, I think. How can one player take out 5 and he's not even made any contact with them? You know what I mean? It's not like 5 people trying to get him on the floor.
No.
He's just skipped around, and fair play to the winger that side for holding his line. Do you know what I mean? Just letting him dance, letting him run around, you know what I mean? And just being there. Eckersley wants it, on the wing. And, he just sort of must be thinking, right, well, I'll just hold my line. I'll hug the chalk. The ball's coming out and I'm scoring here.
It's easy, isn't it, for a winger? If you're playing off a halfback like that, who just, it's a game changer, isn't it? And essentially, probably the difference between the two sides, that was.
They've got so many. Jyfield had a stormer again.
Yeah, Jyfield did have a stormer again. J-Field, we've got to call him J-Field. Keep getting bollocked for calling him Jyfield.
Do I?
Yeah.
Who bollocks us?
The commenters.
The commenters. You commenters. Yeah, who else we talking about? Harry Smith, consistent as always. So, with some brilliant kicking. Brilliant.
Wigan just being Wigan. They'll win this week. Can't see Catalan troubling them. It could end up being a cricket score if Catalan don't sort stuff out this week.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much change in the top of the table this week, is there? But, I mean, if Warrington beat Hull KR, then that will be the biggest change that we can see. But
pigs might fly, though.
Right, let's move on to the final game then. We have got, on Sunday, we've got Wakey taking on Salford. Wakey currently 6th, holding that final playoff position as we speak right now. 3 from the last 6. Salford, bottom of the table, sitting 12th. 0 from the last 6. This is at 3 o'clock on Sky Sports Plus.
Yeah, and if you Wakefield media team that are watching, they were brilliant at the weekend with Wakefield. They seem to clip us up every now and then. But only when we said that. Did you go against Wakey last week?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Obviously, I said they were going to win, didn't they? They were on fire with Wakefield at the weekend. More improvements to the ground as well. I know that's nothing to do with the game. But every time you're like, oh, I haven't been to Wakey since the stadium's been done. Got to get there. But yeah, I saw more photographs on social media this week. They've sorted a little bit more of the terracing out. They've sorted the bar areas out. They just keep making improvements to the ground. So good to see.
Well, if you want to establish yourself as a real contender at the pinnacle of the game, you've got to look like a real contender at the pinnacle of the game.
Yeah, of course.
It just seems to me that I think it started definitely last season, maybe even the season before, where they were just look, gone are the days of Wakey being another coal mining town in the north of England. We are going to be we are going to be real contenders in this sport, and it's brilliant to see.
Yeah,
it's really, really good to see.
Bellevue's looking awesome now, and once they've sorted that other standout on the other side, it's not going to be the best ground in Super League, but it's certainly going to hold its own now, isn't it? It looks great watching Wakey play, and the pitch is impeccable quality as well. Just great to see. Anyway, right, talking about the game, Corey Hall, absolute cutting lines for Wakey, played brilliant at the weekend, and Caius Fatili, I've never pronounced that right, just box office, it's just great watching him play. Just running over people for fun, and he's got so much speed. Where's that speed come from for such a big guy?
This is one of the things that, in our news show, we're going to talk about individual skill when we start picking about some of the tries that's been going on at the minute. But this guy has got athleticism in abundance. For such a big blow, he just seems to have all facets of the game, almost the model forward. Do you know what I mean? And could probably do a job in the centres on the wing as well. He is a class act, and to score again like he did was brilliant.
Right, Wakefield then. Still outside the top 6, aren't they? They're not
six.
They're right. They are playoff contenders this year. Yes or no? Do you think they're going to be? Do you think they're going to finish in that top 6? Stick your neck out on the line.
It all boils down to Catalan and Warrington. I don't think it boils down to what Wakefield do. Assuming they're going to carry on as they are, then they will be playoff contenders. I think what will derail them is Catalan sorting the stuff out and Warrington sorting the crap out in the second half of the season. But they've got to do it quick. My personal thoughts is I want to see Wake. I think it's an amazing story if Wakey make it to the playoffs. You know what I mean? I just think it'd be incredible that a club promoted in the very next year hits the playoffs, as opposed to just bobbling around at the bottom of the table, facing relegation, not really establishing themselves. So I want them to be in the playoffs, but I think it depends on the way those other two teams do the business.
I agree with you, but I'm going to say I think they're going to make the 6. I do. I can't see Catalan doing anything this season. I just can't see them getting enough consistency together to finish in that top 6. Warrington, I have no idea about with Warrington. I just don't know what you're going to get from them. It's going to make for an interesting second half of the season, though. Yeah,
well, I mean, the other thing as well is, what if Saints go on and have another poor run? You know what I mean? If Saints have another poor run, then they're definitely you'd expect them to be in. So we need to have a look at the fixtures that's coming up in the long cast and sort of just do a long prediction where we maybe have a mid-season just appraisal of where we're at and who's going to make that.
Well, we're nearly
6.
at mid-season, aren't we? So we'll do that when we get to mid-season. We'll do our predictions for how I reckon the Super League's going to finish this year.
Right, Carl. Anything else coming up?
We haven't even spoke about Salford. Salford aren't going to win. Wakefield are going to win.
Do you think Wakefield will be chasing the 0 points though, holding them to a nil score?
Well, I think any head coach, defence is key in it, and Darryl Powell's no bug. I think he'll look into keep a clean sheet. Yeah.
Do you think he'll be disappointed if he doesn't hold a clean sheet?
No, because Salford they've still got some quality players that can score from anywhere. But I think that certainly will be objective number 1. Defence. They're going to score tries at Wakefield. There's no doubt about it. So, if they win the defensive battle, they're winning the game.
Right. So, any final afterburners, Carl?
We've got our set of 6 dropping. There's all sorts of stories this week about state of origin players that could be eligible to play for England, but if they play origin, are they allowed to play for England? We'll dive into that. 2 superb tries to look at from the NRL this week, including Mark Nanganetawase, taking me all season to nail that. Wonder try. We're going to dive into that, and we've got a bit of community news as well.
And the Rugby League mega quiz. Don't forget that.
Well, I don't know about the Rugby League mega quiz. You dropped that on me this morning.
Right.
How mega is it?
Oh, mega.
The mega.
Like Megabus mega. Right. In the next show. Take care.